Today I'm very excited. I have Tony Marino as my guest, and Tony is the executive director of the Rockfall Foundation. The Rockfall Foundation started back in 1935, so you're going to be celebrating a 100-year anniversary before too long.
Well, it's our 90th this year.
90th this year, so you're off to a good start,
Yes.
so that's amazing. So the Rockfall Foundation is located in Middletown, Connecticut, in the DeKoven House, which is a beautiful historic house right on Washington, the intersection of Washington Street and Interstate 9, I-9. So welcome, Tony. So glad that you are here. And
well, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, so happy to have you. So the Rockfall Foundation has a board of directors and a staff, and they are responsible for creating and implementing programs. They annually award grants to other nonprofit organizations, schools, and municipalities. And it's all about open space, green space, environmental issues, right?
That's absolutely correct, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Educational programs presented and sponsored throughout the year include the Rockfall Symposia forums and workshops. Let's stop right there. Tony, what's that about? What's a Rockfall Symposia?
Well, it's a larger event. Over the last couple of years, we've done several. 3 years ago, we did a symposium on the effect of climate change on Connecticut trees.
Oh, wow.
And we had the Deep Commissioner as our keynote speaker.
Oh, nice.
And several experts from both Yukon and Deep that spoke on different aspects of the effect that our changing climate has on Connecticut trees.
Oh, interesting.
And then last year, we did one on fungi.
Oh, interesting.
Well, if there are certain people that have become experts in foraging for mushrooms.
Well, of course, yeah.
And it's not something I would do because I've learned from this program that you really need to know what you're doing.
You need to know what you're doing, otherwise you might not feel very well
That's
after
right.
you've tasted something that you
Right.
picked up, right?
So we had a field trip where we had some experts come in and take a group around to show them how to forage. And then we had 2 Yukon professors come and talk to us in a seated room setting to talk about the different aspects of mycology.
Oh, that is so fascinating. Yeah, I love that. And that goes along with the curriculum that kids have in schools, where it's supposed to be scientific education and then all the technology, the seat, right, that
Yes.
goes with all of what they're studying right
Yes,
now.
absolutely.
That's amazing. Okay. And forums and workshops, so that's part of that. What a forum would just be where maybe...
It'd be a smaller group where we maybe at the DeKoven House where we have a large meeting room that seats about 70 people. So we would have a specific speaker on a specific topic. And those kinds of things can be found out on our website.
Okay, and your website is?
Rockfallfoundation.org.
So easy, the rockfallfoundation.org.
Not just Rockfall.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we dropped the for
Drop so rockfallfoundation.org.
That's
Very
right.
nice, okay. And let's see, the Symposia film series. What's the film series about?
It's a collaboration. We collaborate with the Connecticut River Coastal Conservation District,
Okay.
Wesleyan University, Russell Library in Middletown, the Middletown Garden Club, and a couple of organizations I'm forgetting at the moment.
So 5 different organizations, plus 2 that we can't quite get off the tip of our tongue. So that's amazing, because that collaboration is so important, but sometimes so hard. It requires so much coordination and facilitation,
So
cooperation.
after COVID, we had to start again, and now we're sponsoring 3 films a year.
Wow.
We just finished our film series for the year.
Oh, I missed it. Now
Yeah.
I find out about it. Why? So where are those? Is that at the DeKoven House?
No,
or?
they're held at Wesleyan University in one of their theaters.
They have a nice campus,
right.
too, and it's just up the street from
Right,
where
or
the
at
DeKoven...
one of them is also at the Russell Library on a Saturday afternoon.
Okay, and that is further into Middletown, if I'm remembering correctly.
Corner of Broad Street and Court Street, I think.
Okay, Broad and Court, okay. And family hikes, how fun is that?
Oh yeah, well it's a great thing that we do. Part of our mission is to interact or get families involved.
And where do you hike?
Wadsworth Falls State Park.
Oh, beautiful, that's just around the corner.
Yes, yeah. Or our service area is the Lower Connecticut River Valley,
Okay.
which is Middlesex County, plus Lyme and Old Lyme.
Oh, nice.
So we go from Cromwell all the way down to Old Saybrook.
And when do you hike?
Whenever we can schedule one.
Okay.
Usually on weekends.
Weekends, typically Saturday or Sundays, about 10 or so.
Yeah.
A nice warm day, not
On a
rainy.
well, rain cancels, but yeah, we do it in all kinds of weather.
Oh, you do cancel if it rains?
Yeah.
And if we're interested in doing that, more information on the
On our
rockfallfoundation.org again?
Absolutely.
Okay, okay. And how big are the hikes?
Well, it can be up to 15 or 20 people.
Oh, nice. That's a good size hike. And
Yeah.
multi-generational?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And then do you have people who are kind of experts on the hike who talk about the foliage and
Yeah, we try to, depending on the season, we try to have people that can talk about what the environment is around them.
Okay, nice. Is there a fee for this?
Typically, no, but we are starting a new program where there's a nominal fee for non-members, because we are a membership organization, and for members, it's free.
Okay, okay. How much is membership to the Rockfall Foundation?
The basic membership would be $60 a year,
Okay.
and then you could choose to give more if you'd like.
When you get so many services, and if you wanted to donate to the hike leader, I'm sure that's permissible.
Yes, right.
Okay. And then informal networking opportunities. It sounds like you have quite a network already established.
Yeah, but
with
we run these programs. It's called Meet Your Greens.
Meet Your Greens.
Yes. So it is a gathering that takes place at a local establishment, a restaurant or a bar.
Oh, which one? Do you have favorites?
Oh, we move it around.
Okay. You don't have favorites.
Well, we do, but we move it around.
You like them all.
We move it around our service area.
Oh, sure.
Because
Of
we
course.
want to make sure people in the southern part of our service area, in the old Saybrook, Essex area, also have easy access to our programs.
Oh, that's lovely.
So again, we have an environmental speaker. So people gather, they order food or beverages. The speaker talks for about 20 minutes or so, then does a Q&A session,
Wow.
and then people hang around and socialize some more.
I want to join already.
Yeah,
This
so,
sounds fascinating.
so it is a networking opportunity. Not only do you listen to a speaker on an environmental topic, but you have a chance to
Meet other people.
meet other people, interact with them, and get to know
Nice.
people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you award grantees to nonprofit groups. Tell me about that.
Well, it was since 1935 when Clarence Wadsworth established the Rockfall Foundation.
The Colonel.
The Colonel.
Yes.
He the organization started giving out small grants.
Nice.
In 1972, Rockfall formalized that granting program, and now we give out 11 to 15 grants a year to schools, nonprofits, and municipalities.
Very nice. And what are the qualifications for that?
Well, first of all, you need to be a school, a nonprofit, or a municipality, and
Okay.
it has to be an environmental project.
Okay.
But that has a broad range. Anything that has to do with the environment meets the criteria. So it can be if you have an existing trail system like Connecticut Forston Park. They just received a grant for repairing a bridge at a park in Middletown.
Very nice.
We've given out 4 grants this year to summer camps, youth summer camps for scholarships. And we also have granted to the Valley Shore YMCA in Westbrook
Wow.
for a farm-to-table camp. It's about the 5th year we've done that.
And that is just so important when you talk to people about what you can eat, and if you start something from a seedling and then
Yeah.
see it grow.
Well, that program specifically is all about that. So this is a summer camp, and the students, they have a large community garden there at the Y, and the produce from the garden goes to support the shoreline soup kitchens, pantries.
Very nice. Very
So
nice.
the kids get involved in planting and picking, so they learn about the value of growing sustainable food. They learn about the nutritional value of that food, and they also learn to cook a little bit, but they also learn about giving.
Oh, that's really
Because
nice.
they learn about the mission of the community garden, which is to give back.
And there's some people that don't have nice fresh vegetables on their table.
That's right.
And that really is an important thing to teach. In education programs with annual membership donations and other contributions, who are your big contributors?
We have several individuals or families that contribute to us.
They love you.
Yes, and when we say large, they're not $10,000 gifts or anything like that. They're reasonably they're small, but there are larger donors.
And it sustains the program, so that's nice.
Well, it supplements the programs.
Supplements the program.
Right. The Rockfall Foundation does have an endowment, but because of the cost of running the COVID house and staff, the endowment does not create enough income to do everything that we like to do, especially our grants and educational programs. So the membership money and any business sponsors that we might get go to enhance the grants in educational programs.
So important. And do you identify specific target areas where maybe there's lower socioeconomics or difficulty with people?
We don't necessarily target those areas, but certainly we welcome grants from any community within our service area.
Okay, very good. Okay. And I used to work with the YMCA in Middletown, and lovely program and facility up there.
Yeah.
They do so much up there. So you maintain your office, we talked about that, and subsidized office space for other environmental nonprofits.
So the DeCoven House,
it's big.
yes, it is. And Clarence Wadsworth and his family lived there from the late 1800s until sometime in the 1930s. They lived
1800s, okay, so
Yeah.
like 30, 40 years,
Yeah.
okay.
And when they moved to what is now the mansion at Long Hill, they kept the DeCoven House as his office space.
Okay.
When he died in 1942, Mrs. Wadsworth converted the building into a community center.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
So the community center has two parts to it. One, we have 6 other organizations besides Rockfall that have office space there.
Okay.
And most of those are also environmental nonprofits.
Oh, that's really nice.
And we benefit them by providing them with below market rental rates.
Oh, and rent's expensive.
Yeah.
I
We
hear.
also have 2 community rooms that's open to the general public for a very nominal fee. There's a smaller room that's like a boardroom and a larger room that can hold up to 70 people.
Oh, that's really nice. I've actually been in those rooms before, so it's a nice facility. And you have an interesting journey, I think, starting first as somebody that was a plumber. There's other words for plumber.
Well, actually, we had a plumbing company.
A plumbing company. This was something that was in the family?
Right. We hired, my father started it, and
Oh.
we weren't plumbers ourselves, but we hired plumbers.
Oh, nice.
And we did mostly large commercial work, like places like at Wesleyan and Middlesex Hospital and many schools in the state of Connecticut, actually.
So pipe fitters as well.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, you know that word.
I do, of course. Yeah, yeah. So in 1997, you became active with the Rockfall Center.
Right. So yeah, I started out
Foundation.
just joining one of their committees, the House Committee,
Okay.
which oversees the DeCoven House Community Center. And then I went and ended up on a couple other committees, and before you knew it, I was on the board.
Oh boy.
And then before you knew it, I was board president.
Oh boy.
And I continued on until I termed out, basically. But also at that point in time is when I became a staff person at Rockfall.
But you're the executive director, and I think that's so valuable when you've had the history of the organization from beginning as an early volunteer, very part-time, just because you were interested,
Yeah.
moving up through the ranks, developing all those relationships with all those people.
Yeah, that's been very helpful because I do have a lot of historic knowledge of the history of Rockfall and how it got to be where it is today.
Absolutely, and people appreciate that. So you've eventually required additional staff assistance. So how do you find your staff? Are they located pretty much in Middletown?
No, actually, they can come from anywhere that fits our job description. So besides myself, I have one colleague who does mostly communications and runs the grants program.
Okay, grants program, and then somebody who does the marketing and gets the word out on.
Yeah, that same person, yes.
Oh, okay. So
We're only 2 people,
okay.
and we do a lot for just a 2-person staff.
Bare bones, working hard.
Well, that's the way a nonprofit should be. I mean, our money should go out to our programs and out into the community, not pay for staff.
I agree, but that's not always the case, right?
True, yeah.
So, yeah. And what are some of the goals of the Rockfall Foundation?
Our largest goal is to expand our grants and educational programs. As I said before, we're somewhat limited because of the strict controls we have on the amount of money we can spend each year from the endowment. And some of that money goes to offset the deficit in the DeCoven House because even though it does generate some revenue, it's not enough to cover all of its expenses.
Well, it's an older building, so it
Yes.
probably has some maintenance issues.
We have we have to put money into it every year.
Of course.
And we plan to do that. But that's money that otherwise might be able to be applied to our grants program.
Oh, I understand.
So we're really trying to increase our brand awareness throughout our service area. As you might understand, we're better known in Middletown than we are in Lyman Old Lyme.
Well, and hopefully things like this will help you
Yeah.
get the word out and get more information
So,
shared.
so our goal is to increase our brand awareness in all the communities that we serve. And through that increased brand awareness and hopefully people understanding the important work that we do, that will generate more membership, both individual and business.
I'm sure. And just the idea that we're having global warming and more extreme temperatures and more harsh storms, and it's just getting more and more obvious, I think, to more and more people.
Yeah, clearly climate change, I'm going to say this because I believe it, climate change is real.
Well, they say statistically, I just heard this recently, that 70% of people in our country now believe that to be true. And most people who are not listening to it are not listening to the science of it. And this has been identified back since 1940 something. I don't remember the exact year, but it's not like it's brand new. We know that the world is changing. And
Yeah, the changing climate is changing our landscape.
exactly.
We have many more what we consider invasive plants now, and those invasive plants are shading out are what we consider to be native plants. So we actually have a program at Rockfall. We own 16 acres of open space adjacent to Wadsworth Falls State Park.
Oh, nice.
Wadsworth Falls State Park came about because when Clarence Wadsworth passed away, in his will he donated all the land that is now Wadsworth Falls State Park to the state to create that park.
Very nice.
He kept this very small section for his family, and it then ended up in the ownership of the Rockfall Foundation. So we use it as a demonstration open space site, and we do invasive plant workshops where we invite people to come, and we have several people that are very familiar with invasive plants.
Of course.
And we educate them on what invasive plants look like, and how you can try and manage them by pulling them out. We don't believe in using pesticides.
No, that'll end up in the water. We don't want
Right,
that.
right.
Yeah.
So we use a holistic approach to how you can manage your property.
Good, very good. Now we have pollinator pathways along the shoreline. Are you part of that as well?
Our Rockfall Foundation, through our grant program, has funded the initiation of several of those pollinator pathways.
Well, and it's just so important. And who we have where I live, East Lyme, there's so many people that are so concerned about only having natural native plants and eliminating and destroying basically the invasive species that will take over and just wreak havoc in our areas.
Yeah,
So.
clearly the pollinator pathways are exactly what they are. They provide the appropriate plants for bees, butterflies, and other pollinators to survive and thrive.
And we need our honeybees.
Well, if there's a big die-off now from honeybees, they're not sure why, but all of much of our crops are initiated by pollinators.
Well, we need those pollinators.
And if we don't have pollinators, then we're not going to have food.
Right. It's a big loop, and it's just so important. So your message is perhaps redundant, it seems at times, but certainly it's critical, and we need to keep talking about it, and we need to keep spreading awareness.
Yeah, the message is, even if you don't belong to a pollinator pathway, look at what you're planting in your yard.
Exactly.
And learn what plants pollinators like.
Exactly.
And plant those.
Well, and my husband ascribes to no mow May, so
Excellent. That's very important.
he does not like to mow the lawn until after the pollinators, some of the early pollinators come and get their little juices from the clover, I guess, mainly at that point in time. So you have a big event coming up in Old Saybrook, and I know my husband's going to be excited to hear about this because he loves oysters. So tell me about this one.
Well, we're very fortunate to partner with Old Saybrook Resort and Marina for the second year.
Oh, that's a beautiful spot, right on the Sound.
Right on the Sound, and the venue that we use is outside on the patio.
Oh, nice.
And down on the docks overlooking the marina.
That sounds lovely.
And last year was the first year we did it.
Oh, beautiful.
And we ended up having a perfect day, so it was a perfect event.
Oh, nice.
Over 300 people attended.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, we have locally sourced oysters from oysters from Fisher's Island, from Rhode Island, from Block Island, and locally from the New London Groton area.
Okay. Do they taste different?
Yeah, they all have a different flavor because they all grow up in a little bit different environment. Yeah.
Interesting. So that is scheduled for May 4th at the Saybrook Point Resort Marina in Old Saybrook from noon till 3. So you have a good long period of time.
It's a Sunday afternoon, and on a beautiful day, it's a great place to be.
The first Sunday in May, then.
Yes. So not only is it oysters, though, we always like to let people know that there's other food options besides oysters.
Some people don't like oysters.
Some people don't. Can you imagine that? Some people don't like them.
What about you? Are you a big fan?
I eat them a little bit. But I have friends that come into this event, and I have to slow them down.
Slow them down because they think it's an all-you-can-eat. Okay.
Right. So we're probably going to have about 3,000 to 3,500 oysters for people to eat.
That is a lot of oysters.
It is. So we're very fortunate that several businesses like Fisher's Island Oysters are donating oysters to the event.
And okay, so here we are, and it's all about keeping the waters of Long Island and Block Island clean, and Rhode Island clean.
Right. Well, oysters are not only are they delicious to eat, but they perform a great service.
Oh, tell me.
To clean the waters that they live in.
So they work for us, and then we can eat them.
And then we eat them.
Wow. Tell me how they clean the water. I don't know.
Well, it's just through the system of taking water in, where they get their food sources from.
Okay.
And in that process, they eliminate a lot of pollutants from the water.
They're a little filtration system.
They are a little
then.
filtration system.
That's really interesting. And you're going to have complimentary oysters and other kinds of food for every pallet, including vegetarian offerings. That's really nice.
Well, being an environmental organization, we run into all types of palates with people that we associate with. So we always try and provide food varieties that will meet everyone's food needs.
Okay, hot dogs?
There will be hot dogs.
Wow. I was just asking that tongue in cheek, actually.
And there will be band. Jamie's Junk says it there. Music.
Wow.
So
we can dance. There'll be a little dance floor set up.
And people just dance on the deck.
Wow. How
and
nice
besides
is that?
We'll have other vendors that'll be giving out spirit and wine tastings. There'll be a cheese tasting area. There'll be Mercine Ale will be distributing beer samples.
Oh, nice.
And
I think I'm marking my calendar. The more you talk, the more interested I get. So that's amazing.
May 4th.
May 4th.
It's a Sunday from noon to 3.
Noon to 3 in Old Saybrook Point. And lobster rolls and Jamie's Junk Show. What's that? What is Jamie's Junk Show?
That's the band.
Oh, okay. What kind of music do they play?
Kind of rocky kind of stuff.
Rock and roll, folk music, a little bit maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Music appropriate for the outside.
There you go. That's nice. Okay. And you're so fortunate to have companies who have sponsored this event. Are there any shout outs for anybody in particular?
I wish I could remember their names, but I can't. But we have, if you go to our website, you can see the sponsors.
Absolutely.
And we appreciate every one of them.
And if you want to make reservations, www.saybrook.com/D-line Oyster Festival -2.
Yeah, just Google Old Saybrook Point Resort and go to their website, and you can link into that.
Okay. And then the Rockfall Foundation. So, well, I plan to come, so that sounds exciting.
Terrific. I look forward to seeing you.
Okay, good. And another couple of questions. What kinds of programs does Rockfall Foundation like to support? We've already mentioned some. Is there anything that we haven't talked about or gone through? I know the environment is in such a crisis right now with the fires that we've had, with the floods that we have. Anything that we need to know that's...
No, much of what we support is through our grants program.
Nice.
And our environmental program. So we do partner with other environmental nonprofits on some of these programs, like Connecticut League of Conservation Voters.
That's a good organization.
Right. Middlesex Land Trust.
Nice.
In this area, the Connecticut River Museum.
Oh, nice. Yes, of course.
And Connecticut Land Conservation Council.
Well, those are great organizations.
And we also partner with a lot of land trusts in this area.
Well, I like it that you're not in competition, but just complete cooperation. You're all spreading the word, you're all doing the work, you're all getting people out there. And I just had an interview with Bree Chervell, and she's written a book, and it's about parenting during the climate crisis, and she has a new saying that she's using in her book. I just interviewed her the other day, and she says, "No child left inside," which I like. I like that idea. Get out there, hike those trails, be aware of what trails need to be maintained, right?
Yeah. But that's why through our grants program we support youth camps,
Nice.
which are all outdoors.
Nice.
And there's several of them throughout the entire area.
Okay.
We think it's so important to have young people get outside.
Absolutely, yeah. And what do you find when people are outside? What do you notice?
Oh, they smile.
They smile more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they say that you learn more when you're outside. You're just naturally adapting to the habitat, and you're just becoming more of who you can be.
Yes.
And I also heard recently, tell me if this is true, that the food now that you might buy commercially at a grocery store versus what you plant is not as healthy or nutritious.
It's not as nutritious.
Why is that?
Well, first of all, it's mass produced.
Oh.
There's a lot of fertilizers and chemicals that are used on them, and they travel a great distance. So some of the nutrition is lost in the transportation.
Okay.
So there's plenty of local farmers markets.
And why are farmers markets better?
Because all the food is locally sourced.
It's locally sourced,
Right. And you're supporting local farmers.
and that's not an easy gig, right? Being a farmer.
It's very hard work.
Very hard work.
You know, especially as we talked about with climate change, deluge rains or drought, where we used to have a more steady
More
weather.
gentle rain.
Right. So they're really challenged.
So it's just so important, I think, for people to become aware of that and to notice it and appreciate it. And if we're eating foods that aren't locally sourced, not grown by a farmer or in your backyard, then it's going to not have the same amount of nutrition. I read recently that you have to eat 3 to 5 servings of broccoli now than 15, 20
really?
years ago
Yeah,
to get the same amount of nutrition into your body.
So locally sourced from your local farmers, your local dairy people, there's more nutrition in that food than there is for what you get at the grocery store.
Okay. And you've already talked about who you partner with.
Yeah.
And it's a very lean organization.
Well, you know, as I said before, we feel that's important that we keep our overhead down so that we can use the money that we do have to put back into the community.
Well, people appreciate that.
Yeah. So I have a couple events that I wouldn't mind talking about that are coming up.
Oh, please, yeah, share what's news.
So this coming Thursday.
Thursday, this week.
Right, the Meet Your Greens program that I talked about, we're going to have Brian Stewart, who's a Wesleyan professor,
Oh, wow.
come and talk about backyard bugs. He's been
Nice.
collecting bugs in his backyard for many, many years, and he's cataloged them all. And he's going to talk to us about what he can find in your backyard.
But where's that going to be?
That's going to be at Perk on Main, which is a restaurant on Main Street in Middletown,
Oh, fun. What time?
5:30 to 7:30.
Okay.
And then for Earth Day, we're going to be celebrating on Main Street with a Main Street cleanup.
April 22nd is
April
Earth Day.
22nd,
right?
From noon to 2 p.m. Outside the boutique Cinder Plus Salt.
Cinder Plus Salt,
They're
right on Main Street. Okay.
Right, they're an environmental boutique.
Okay.
And so we're partnering with them on the street cleanup.
Beautiful. Very nice.
Urban areas are just as important as rural areas.
course
in
they
terms of
are.
the environment. So, yes, so we're going to do an urban cleanup.
My friend Bree that I just talked about, Bree Chevelle, who wrote that book, she said when she goes to the beach, she takes 3 bags with her. One for the shells for her daughter,
Yeah.
one for the litter that she'll pick up, and
Yeah.
one for seaweed to bring back home to compost in
Sure.
her garden.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we should do the same thing when we walk down the street, have gloves on our hands and pick up the litter, and
Yeah, that would be helpful.
that would be helpful. So what is your next event?
Well, the last one I'll talk about is a guided bird walk on May 17th.
May 17th. What day of the week is that?
That should be a Saturday.
Saturday.
Saturday
Okay.
or Sunday. And it's from 8:30 to 11 at Haddam Meadow State Park, which is right off 145, I believe.
Okay.
In Haddam.
Okay, so if I become a member, or when I become a member
Yes, when you become a member, that's very important.
of the Rockfall Foundation, then all of these events will become known to me and I will become alerted and I can attend these.
Yeah, you can find out about what we do 2 ways. We prefer you become a member,
Okay,
but you can also just sign up for our e-news, which we send out twice a month.
Okay.
And it talks about the programs that we are putting on.
Well, you're doing a lot of amazing work, and it's just so important and so beautiful. So I really appreciate you, Tony, coming and talking and sharing all of this. Is there any funny, particularly interesting story that you'd like to share with us about your work along these lines? You've been doing it for quite a while now.
I have been, and I don't have a story at the top of my head that's funny. But
Well, it's interesting that the Colonel started this whole program, Wadsworth, right?
Yeah.
And started this whole program in a sense, not exactly, but it's kind of evolved, just like a tree grows in this land.
Well, and as I explained, he was an interesting character, and he liked trees. And part of the rationale for him buying up all this open space property was to protect trees and keep that land from being developed.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they say open space is actually more important than developed space. We don't
Yeah.
have to educate the trees. We don't have to provide fire, police services, all of those things,
Yeah.
right?
So if you go to and you hike at Wadsworth Falls State Park,
Okay.
you will find that there are 2 rock falls within that park.
Wow, I didn't know
And
that.
you have to remember that used to be the Colonel's property.
Hmm.
So the Rockfall Foundation is named after the 2 rock falls that are now part of Rock Falls.
Beautiful.
Rockfall State Park.
Rockfall State Park.
Wadsworth Falls State Park.
Okay, okay. Well, I'm very excited. Thank you so much for being a guest. It's been so fascinating. I love your story, so thank you so
Well,
much.
I like being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Yes.